Welcome to Impact Makers Radio, featuring industry thought leaders sharing problem-solving insights to help grow your business and live the life you love. And here's your host, Stewart Andrew Alexander.
Hi, and welcome to another Let's Talk Divorce conversation. And on this segment of the show, I have estate planning and family law attorney Rodney Davis. Now, Rodney is the owner at the law office of Rodney Davis LLC, and he's calling in all the way from Birmingham, Alabama. Now, Rodney, an authority in the area of estate planning and family law, will be talking to you today about planning for a divorce and estate planning issues following a divorce. So, if you're a divorcing couple, you might want to stop what you're doing, log out of Facebook or Twitter or anything else you may be doing that could be a distraction. Grab a notepad and pen, take some notes, and listen in to what Rodney has to share with you today. So with that said, welcome to the show, Rodney.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alexander.
You are so welcome. So, Rodney, let's just jump feet first in, as we say in the UK, and briefly, in your own words, describe the kinds of people who you serve and the various types of situations they find themselves in when they come to you for your help.
Certainly. So I have a law practice, and 50% of it, roughly 50% of my law practice is focused on family law, which includes anything from divorces to child support matters, child custody matters, child visitation issues. And the other half of my practice is mainly focused on estate planning, which includes everything from wills and trusts to power of attorneys and medical directives, beneficiary designations, trust administration, so many more things. But basically legacy planning, planning for your future, planning for your estate to be passed to the next generation in the most time-efficient manner.
Keeping in mind that anything you share with us today is not legal advice or legal assistance then, Rodney, can you briefly share the most common misconception you come across while you're helping the people who you love to help the most? Now, obviously, we're talking about those divorcing couples out there, and I'm sure there are many misconceptions that you come across while you're out there working on a day-to-day basis. But if you could share the most common one, that would be great. Thank you.
Most people who I encounter who are have gone through a divorce or they're currently going through a divorce have the misconception that going through a divorce doesn't affect their estate or their estate plan. And that's a very bad misconception to have, because we do many things to plan our estate when we are married, and we may not realize it when we're doing it. But when you do things such as a designated beneficiary on a life insurance policy, or make someone a beneficiary of certain bank accounts that you may have, when you pass away, those beneficiary designations won't have changed. You may not want your estate to go to an ex-spouse, after you've passed. Also, you want to plan for your children as well. And so I don't know if I would call it a misconception per se. I think that most people just don't consider the ramifications of divorce and family law matters on their estate plan.
Keeping your client's confidentiality in mind then, Rodney, please share an example of how you've helped someone who came to you with those challenges you just described, or that misconception, so to speak, and what kind of results you were able to gain for them.
Well, unfortunately, many times, these sorts of issues are handled way too late in the process, which makes it even more important to plan for these type of things. I had a client who was she was an executor of her of her mother's estate. Her mother had written a will, and she had left some things to her daughter, but she had also left a lot of things to her ex-husband as well. And she was trying to figure out what she could do. Even though the will, left certain things to her ex-husband, the child did not want that to happen. And, her biggest thing was trying to see how she could have all of the assets passed to her in lieu of her ex-husband. And it's one of those things that really get really messy, especially when it's a messy divorce. And unfortunately, there wasn't much we could do as far as what was written in the will. Fortunately, in our case, there are situations where if something is left to someone in a will, that person can disclaim or, in other words, refuse what was left to them in that situation. And so we took advantage of that option. Basically, in that situation, you had a mother who didn't update her will after she'd gotten a divorce from her ex-husband and didn't change how she wanted to dispose of some of her assets. Lucky for us in that case, the person who the assets were actually supposed to be going to, which was the ex-husband, he ended up refusing those gifts. And so my client did end up getting what she ultimately wanted. But again, it goes back to the importance of planning for these type of situations instead of waiting for them to happen. And unfortunately, that's what so many people end up doing, is waiting and putting it off. And by the time it's important, or by the time that it's time to handle that issue, it's too late.
Okay, we are talking today about planning for a divorce and estate planning issues following a divorce, Rodney. So with that in mind, and for those divorcing couples who are out there listening to you right now and wanting to know more, what's the most common pitfall that you'd like to bring to their attention today? Now, again, I'm sure there are many pitfalls, but we do have a limited amount of time. So if you could share the most common one that you come across that you think would be most useful for our listeners, that would be great. Thank you.
In terms of a divorce, as it relates to estate planning, I think one of the biggest pitfalls to avoid would be not making guardianship designations in your will.
Right.
I think that would be one of the biggest pitfalls. Also, if you're getting divorced and you don't have children, updating things like your life insurance, beneficiary designations, your IRA, beneficiary designations, your retirement accounts, things like that.
Okay, Rodney, you've shared some great insights so far, and I'd just like to explore a little bit about yourself, Rodney Davis. So let's just imagine it's a Monday morning, and your alarm clock goes off. Maybe it's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever the time is when you normally wake up. And you have a full day of work ahead of you, helping your clients through divorce and helping them with their estate planning issues. How does Rodney Davis feel on a morning like that?
It's definitely tough. I think it's often a dramatic situation for people, especially when you're dealing with a death. But when you have family law issues on top of that, it makes the cases even more intense. And I find it rewarding, though, because I'm helping people in a way that they otherwise wouldn't be able to help themselves. And in many cases, when it comes to estate planning and divorce, provide a pretty reasonable outcome for people who don't plan the way they should. And so it's tough waking up having to do it, but, I love it because I'm helping people, and I'm helping people in a way that seems like even when they haven't planned well, there's still things that can be done to ultimately resolve whatever situation that they're dealing with.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that with us, Rodney. And it's a good segue into my next question, which is kind of related to what you just spoke about. But this time, if you could just share a little bit about yourself in terms of your background and your education and experience as it relates to the topic of estate planning and family law.
I graduated from the University of Alabama in Birmingham with a bachelor's in communication studies. I have a minor in mass communications and another minor in philosophy and law. I got my law degree from Jones School of Law in Montgomery, Alabama in May 2015. And ever since then, I've been handling estate planning cases and family law cases.
Okay, great. So we're coming towards the end of the show, Rodney. I've just got a couple more questions for you. Right now, I'd just like you to picture the kinds of divorcing couples who come to you for help and they're wanting to know more about planning for a divorce and estate planning issues following a divorce. Now, with that picture in mind, Rodney, what final thoughts would you like to share with them before we move on to our final question?
For anyone who's dealing with a divorce or any kind of family law issue, definitely be sure to update your beneficiary designations, all of your legal estate planning documents. And if you haven't started planning for your estate, or if you haven't written any kind of legal documents like a will or a trust, start today. It's never too early to start, but it can easily be too late to start.
If there is somebody out there who wants to know more about planning for their divorce and estate planning issues following their divorce, how would they connect with you, Rodney? Where would they find you? I
am online at rdavislawoffice.com. I have a lot of information on my website about divorces as it relates to estate planning and other various estate planning and family law topics.
Okay, thank you so much. And yeah, whether you're sat in the car, maybe you're sat in heavy traffic at this time of the day, or you're tuning in from home, or maybe even at work, that's all we have time for today. But again, that was Rodney Davis. Thank you so much for sharing so generously with us today, Rodney. You have certainly demonstrated without a doubt that you are a true educator and advocate for your client's success. So thank you, Rodney.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Have a good one.
You are so welcome. And even more importantly, I'd like to say a big thank you to you, the listener, for joining us on this very insightful and informative conversation with one of the leading estate planning and family law attorneys in the Birmingham, Alabama area today. So make sure you do check him out, give him a call, visit his website, check him out on LinkedIn. I am absolutely sure that you will be in good hands. So again, I'm Stewart Andrew Alexander, or as Rodney likes to call me, Mr. Alexander. I have been called worse, so I will accept that. And we'll be back shortly with some more leading divorce professionals in this, our series of Let's Talk Divorce Conversations. So until then, take care, have a great day, and we'll talk real soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Makers Radio. To listen to all past, present and future industry thought leaders and trendsetters, visit us at impactmakersradio.com.